What if Cliff Burton had never died? Everyone, Mike here with Extreme Metal Magazine. Welcome back to another video. Now, over the years, over the past 24, 25 years, as I've been listening to metal, as I've been taking my metal journey, I've thought about this. But I'll be honest, obviously in the early 2000s, I didn't know anything about YouTube. There was no YouTube. I never thought about putting together a video for it, but really wanted to get this video out. Hope we get some decent views on it. And most importantly, like I say in my other YouTube channel, Prehistoric Magazine, I really hope if you're watching, you'll take a moment to chime in. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this. But what if Cliff Burton had never died? Now, I think the easiest answer to say to that would be Metallica would have made much better music. I mean, let's face it, those three albums are genius. Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets. And they get better and better and better as time goes on. I still think And Justice for All is a phenomenal album. I don't think it gets enough respect in the Metallica discography, but it's definitely not Master of Puppets. But who can blame them? I consider Master of Puppets the greatest metal record of all time. And I love everything. I love Death. I love Creator. I love Sepultura. So I love a lot of extreme metal, but that one for me really does it for me. But again, if Cliff Burton had never died, I think we would have easily said that Metallica would have been better. They just would have kept pounding out that great music. I'm sure they would have evolved, but I don't know that they would have evolved to the Black Album, 1991. But really why I wanted to get this video out was to say that I think, and this is my opinion on this, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments section, but the death of Cliff Burton opened metal up to the masses. Because let's face it, in the mid-'80s, sure, it was growing and Metallica went platinum. They sold 1 million records of Master of Puppets with no radio play or no television video or no anything. That was impressive in its own right through tape traders. But let's face it, the masses did not know thrash metal. They did not know Metallica. It was more of a niche. And even to this day, metal is still a niche, and it truly never got the respect that it so rightfully deserves. I'll be making more videos on that in future videos. The idea that people that play metal are ridiculously talented, from the singing to the drumming to the playing of the guitars, the bass, ridiculously talented. The musicians never get the respect that they rightfully deserve. But nonetheless, this concept of if Cliff Burton had never entered that bus, if for some reason that bus had never crashed in 1986 September, what would have happened to metal? And I think that metal would have stayed smaller than what it is today. Let's face it, Metallica is as commercial as it gets. Pains me to say that. There are two Metallicas. There is the 1980s Metallica, which is all I listen to as far as Metallica, and there is the 1990s and beyond. Now, I do own the Black Album, and I do own a few other later Metallica records. I'll be talking about them in later videos, but to me, the 1980s is where it's at for Metallica. I do not really acknowledge anything else. There's two different bands, the 1980s and after the 1980s. Anyone will tell you that. Those are where the hits are. Again, I have the Black Album. I enjoy it. I think it's a good record. It's definitely not a thrash metal record. But nonetheless, this idea that Cliff Burton's death opened metal up to the masses, because I do not think that they would have made the Black Album had Cliff Burton lived. He was kind of the creative genius, the voice of the band. I just don't think he would have allowed that record to go through. And I wouldn't be sitting here today. I wouldn't be listening to this music. And, it's not just about Cliff Burton. It's about Death. It's about Sepultura. It's about Creator. It's about Slayer. It's about Morbid Angel. Can't even name all the bands. It's about all of those bands that I discovered because I first discovered Metallica. Now, even though I still go back to Metallica as the source code, again, I still believe Master of Puppets, for me, is the greatest metal record of all time. If I only had one record to listen to for the rest of my life, even though I've listened to it thousands of times, I would still pick Master of Puppets. But I am a fan of everything. I am a fan of Scream Bloody Gore. I am a fan of Leprosy. So don't just view me as some Metallica fanboy. I listen to all extreme metal. And lately, I've been getting into a lot of underground metal. A band called Dungeon Serpent. I'll be talking about them later. Intestine Bowlism. Phenomenal melodic death metal. So I've been expanding. I've been listening to a lot of stuff. And I come back to Metallica probably for a couple weeks every year. Always revisit that album, those albums. But again, to the topic of the video, I believe that with the Black Album, it came to the masses. Metal came to the masses. And in the late 90s and the early 2000s, metal found me. And what happened in my metal journey is I listened to all Metallica. I listened to Kill 'Em All. I listened to Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, 1988, and Justice for All, and the Black Album. Now, that's what happened. And once I kept kind of recycling those albums, like what's next? What's next? I got to find out what's next. What else is out there? That's when I discovered Slayer. That's when I discovered this whole other realm of metal, only because I discovered Metallica. And I just think in the early 2000s, had Cliff Burton still lived, Metallica would have been making tremendously better music. But I think it would have stayed in its sub niche. I don't think it would have broken out. And let's face it, the Black Album was that breakout album. 30 million records is nothing to sneeze at. That's a massive record by any standards, by any estimates. That's huge sales. You know, that is, like, I'm a novelist. I don't know if some of you know this, but I write books. I don't talk about it too much on this channel, but they always talk about, in the book world, a lead magnet. You know, as a writer, you need a lead magnet. Like, you need a book that hooks everybody else. So maybe you have a book that's free, so you get readers in, and then they come buy your other stuff. And to me, I just think the Black Album was that gateway album for so many people to discover Master of Puppets. I mean, I don't think I'd ever would have heard of Master of Puppets without the Black Album, because again, I just don't think it would have reached the masses. It would have stayed smaller, would have stayed niche, and it wouldn't have reached someone like me. Again, this is just a theory. I'm just a guy on YouTube. I hope you'll take the time at the end of this video to comment down in the comment section down below. That's why the comment section is there. That's why it's open for any and all comments, whether they agree with me, whether they disagree, negative, positive. I'd love to hear really your thoughts on this. But I really do think that the death of Cliff Burton opened it up to everybody. And here I am talking about metal. Almost 25 years into my metal journey, and I'm still discovering so many bands out there. I mean, it's still a goal of mine. I don't know if I'll ever do it, but it's still a goal of mine to listen to every death metal album from 1991, because there was so many during that year. And why did that year seem to just be the pinnacle of death metal? You could pick any death metal band in 1991, and even if you've never heard of them, their record is going to be damn phenomenal. Again, Cliff Burton was not death metal. Metallica was not death metal. But my whole point here is that through the death of him, through making and giving metal to the masses, bringing it to a higher level, someone like me exists. Love to hear your thoughts on this down in the comment section down below. What do you think would have happened to metal, extreme metal, you know, the industry at large, the genre at large, had Cliff Burton never died? Stay metal. See you in the next video.